After pumping a solid weekend's worth of gaming time into the Operation Underground map for Battlefield 5 and unlocking the new Masson machine gun, which I'm really enjoying using, I have come to the conclusion that this map is exactly what Battlefield 5 needed at this point in its life. We are just short of 1 year since this game launched, and to be totally honest, the post-launch lifecycle of this game has been shrouded in disappointment and letdown for the most part, but Operation Underground has really elevated my spirits, and it's proved to me that Battlefield 5 really can be an awesome video game consistently, and that's important. And it's also got me excited for what's coming next. Besides the performance issues that the map currently has, which will be fixed in a future update, Operation Underground, I think, is a near-perfect implementation of what a Battlefield game can deliver when it comes to pure infantry combat. The DICE team has taken a classic fan-favourite design, they've improved it, but at the same time they've managed to maintain the essence of what made the original map so great. They've preserved the infantry chaos of Operation Metro from Battlefield 3, but they've managed to weed out the most annoying aspect that that map had, the deadlock in the middle. I spent hundreds of hours playing Operation Metro in Battlefield 3 to the point where I knew almost every time I ran towards the centre of the map, I knew where the enemy players were going to be. They would be set up, ready to suppress us to the point where our screens looked like they'd had Vaseline rubbed all over them. I knew the first set of escalators would mean enemies hiding behind the photo booth on the right-hand side, taking cover behind the ATM machines, and then behind the setback cover over on the left-hand side, to the left of the lifts. The second set of escalators, I knew they were much harder to even get up because of the walled opening above it. That meant enemies could just look down onto you and kill you instantly. I knew the side staircase was one with very limited cover, but it gave you a much better look across the entire hall around the B flag. Every round was almost the same. The Russian team and the American team, they would sprint into the middle, and the game would come to a complete halt within a couple of minutes around that B flag, with one team holding onto it and the other team being stuck, unable to really do anything to counter that defense. That was the worst part of Operation Metro, and really, that level of frustration did get to me after a while. There were points where I would Alt F4 the server because I was just like, I've had too much of this and I want to go on to something else. It was a point where that map stopped being fun. That level of frustration, or that want to quit the server, that just doesn't exist for me here on Operation Underground. And I really think it's the extra flanking routes that have made the difference here. Instead of just having those 2 or 3 main different options to move forwards or backwards, as you did with Operation Metro, you have like 5, 6 or 7 of those here on Operation Underground, and all of those kind of have these extending routes beyond them that allow you to loop background blocks of enemy players and launch a meaningful flank on them, or you can simply take the fight out of the equation and head straight for the flag beyond them and capture that instead, and you can move the battle to a different location. I mean, if you take the barracks location as a really good example, there within the barracks there are lots of different obstacles within the room that makes infantry fighting really chaotic, which is the kind of combat I think people are really looking for, but there are 2 doors either side of that room that lead backwards and forwards into other rooms and different routes that either connect back into the main underground tunnel or they lead out beyond the tunnels into open air again. So instead of these new flanking routes just being one singular route that would be really easy to lock down with just a few defending players, you as the defender or you as the attacker, you have to think about several different positions that the enemy could approach you from, and that spreads out the players a little bit further across all of these different points. And with all of these smaller points then hosting a smaller number of players at each of them, the entire combat route is spread out a bit more. The chances of one team overpowering the other at each of these locations is then significantly higher, and more breakthroughs do occur, more flanks are successful, and more movement can occur on the map as a result. Now, of course, it can still be said that a lot of the fighting happens below the ground in the underground tunnels. I think DICE intended for that to be the case. They knew that players would appreciate having that location in a Battlefield map back in Battlefield 5. With that would come the chaos, the infantry mayhem, the things that people really wanted. But rather than the map only focusing around the central flag, there is more need for players to be wary of flanks breaking through and capturing a flag behind the battle. That creates more interesting and varied gameplay in the process. Instead of every single match playing through in a very similar way, as was the case with Operation Metro in Battlefield 3, here in Battlefield 5, we now have more varied gameplay scenarios that force you to think just a little bit more. And that for me settles it that Operation Underground is a better map than Operation Metro. And that's a big statement to make because Operation Metro is by far the most popular map, I think, in Battlefield history. Operation Underground, though, it improves on a classic original design, but it makes it just a lot better. And a lot of these reimagining and remaster projects that happen all the time, they often end up with the original essence of the thing being remastered lost in the process, or reimagining as the case is here with Operation Underground. But DICE hasn't actually fallen victim to that here, and that's a real credit to the team who worked on this map. They've done a really, really good job. Now, something else that did become apparent to me over the weekend, and I'm going to mention it here in this video, it's probably going to divide opinion, but this is just how I feel, and it's part of my experience of playing this map so far. Operation Underground has almost completely nullified the presence of attrition. It's not even an issue on this map anymore. Around almost every corner, there is ammo available to you, whether that's an ammo station or a crate on the ground or just a support player who's throwing you a pack of ammo. You don't have to worry about running out of ammunition and then being stuck in that bad position and gameplay becoming boring until you get killed and you respawn with ammunition again. And the same goes for healables. You're never really that far away from being healed in Underground. And for me, the gameplay is just so much better for it. Attrition is something that before the launch of the game, to me, when I was first experiencing it, it was a huge change for Battlefield. And it's one that I initially supported because it was new and refreshing. But as time has wore on, and I've said this in many previous videos, it's something that I've come to realise just isn't enjoyable as a gameplay mechanic. And it hurts gameplay more than it helps it, in my opinion. When it comes to playing Operation Underground and not having to worry about running out of ammunition or not being healed, that just lets me focus purely on playing the objective, defending or attacking from the enemy, holding down a line of sight, or just generally playing the game properly. This is a first-person shooter game, and the game primarily should be about shooting at other people, not searching for ammunition. Operation Underground shows me what Battlefield 5 could be like without attrition as a mechanic. And I prefer it infinitely. I've had so much fun playing Underground because I haven't had to worry anywhere near as much about ammunition or not being healed. I can just focus on playing the game. The fact that Operation Underground has been giving me such enjoyment over the last few days, it's now giving me proper hope for what's coming next for Battlefield 5. We do still have a few weeks left of Underground being the focus of the game through Battlefest, and I think this week things are going to switch up so we can play Rush on Operation Underground, and having played that once or twice already, I'm really looking forward to playing that again. But on the other side of Operation Underground is the Pacific Theatre, and that's a huge milestone for Battlefield 5, and looking at the timeline for this game, it's set to launch right around the 1-year mark. If the level of quality shown here on Operation Underground is reflected in that Pacific content, then I really do think we might finally be out of the woods with Battlefield 5. I said at the beginning of the video, the post-launch cycle so far has been one that's been filled with just disappointment. But recently, since that 4.4 update, the game has started to pull right back upwards, and Operation Underground is a real high point for the game. And it shows that DICE is capable of creating great content and is committed to fixing the bugs in the game at the same time. I think most of us knew that the DICE team could do that, but it's been quite a long time since they showed that they could do that. And many of us kind of forgot what that was like. But it's great to be playing a game again without major issues and bugs showing up all the time. And yes, I do know we have some performance issues with Operation Underground and Alcin Dan, but the maps underneath, they show the great work that DICE can do. That work gives me confidence moving into the time frame for the Pacific content. This might finally be the time that DICE gets to show the gaming world and the Battlefield community that they have a grasp on this game. They're finally in control, and they are going to deliver on that promise of a great live service. But yeah, that's about it for today. Those are my thoughts right now. Let me know what you think down below in the comments section about Operation Underground, your experience with the game over the last week or so, whether you like the map or not. Let me know down below in the comments. Drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, a dislike if you didn't, subscribe for more Battlefield 5 content, and click the bell so you turn on notifications and you won't miss any of my future videos. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.